Okay, guys, so now that you know all about the money market, get out some notebook paper or a whiteboard or something like that, and let's practice a little bit with some questions where you would need to use the money market graph to be able to figure out what's happening with nominal interest rates or the quantity of money, or in most cases, both. Okay, so here we go. Let's start off with this very first question. The Federal Reserve buys $10 billion worth of Treasury securities on the open market. So what would happen with the nominal interest rate and the quantity of money? Okay, so here's the solution. Buying bonds will increase the money supply and decrease the nominal interest rate. You can see that we've shifted rightward from MS1 to MS2, right? So that's our first money supply at quantity of money 1, and MS2 is our new money supply at quantity of money 2, right? When the Fed buys bonds, money supply gets bigger. That's a rightward shift. And you can see that the equilibrium has decreased. Originally, our equilibrium was right up here, and now the new equilibrium is right down here. And so that means that our real interest, or excuse me, I always want to say real, our nominal interest rate has decreased from R1 to R2. All right, let's try another example. Cash App, Venmo, and PayPal are becoming more popular in the US. So what's going to happen with our money market graph? Well, if we have new banking technology, it's going to cause the demand for money to decrease. And when that happens, it's going to be a leftward shift of our money demand curve. You can see from money demand 1 over to money demand 2. But that doesn't mean that there's going to be any change to the quantity of money in circulation, right? I mean, the Federal Reserve doesn't have to change how much cash is out there just because we have Venmo or Cash App, right? And so as money demand shifts left, there's no change in the quantity of money, but what we are going to see is that the equilibrium is going to change, right? So we used to be up here at R1, which is a high nominal interest rate, and now we've decreased down here to R2, which is a lower nominal interest rate. So in this case, there would be no change to the quantity of money, but we would expect to see a lower nominal interest rate. How'd you do? A little bit tricky, that one. Let's try another one. All right, number 3, the Federal Reserve announces they will be pursuing a tight money policy to reduce inflation. That's a little bit jargony, but what are they saying here? They're saying a tight money policy. Tight money means they want to make it hard to get money. Sounds very contractionary to me. What would happen to our graph? Okay, hopefully you got this one. Money supply 1 shifted leftward to money supply 2. The Fed is going to decrease the money supply if they're doing a tight money policy. So they could do that through open market operations or through the reserve requirement. You know, if they were to raise the reserve requirement, force more banks to put money in reserve. If they were to sell bonds, that's going to take away cash from the banks. The banks have less liquidity. The supply of money in circulation gets a little bit smaller. Now, what that's going to do is that's going to change our equilibrium. So our nominal interest rate is going to rise from R1 to R2. And we're also going to see the quantity of money decrease. So there's less money out there in the economy. And at the same time, it's going to be more expensive to borrow money. Definitely it's going to pump the brakes on the economy. All right, number 4. The U.S. economy experienced significant deflation during the Great Depression. So this would be like something you could use if you were doing like an economic history project and you wanted to have a graph in there about what happened with the demand or the supply of money during the Great Depression. What would that look like? Well, during a contraction, right? Obviously, the Great Depression was an enormous economic contraction. The aggregate price level is going to fall. And of course, we're thinking it's a downturn of the economy. GDP is going to fall. So what's going to happen is there's going to be less demand for cash for those two reasons, right? The lower prices means you don't need as much cash in your pocket to buy things, as well as the fact that, just honestly, nobody's really demanding stuff, and so businesses aren't producing as much, and so that's another big reason why there's not very much demand for money at that time. And so there's no change of money supply. The Fed actually really didn't do anything during the Great Depression. They kind of just sat back, and many people after the fact criticized them for that, but they realized that sometimes it's important to take monetary policy actions if there's a downturn in the economy. You have to adjust the supply of money. Well, the Fed didn't adjust the supply of money. So what happened was, as money demand fell, there was no change in the quantity of money, but we did see a big decrease in the nominal interest rate. So it actually became much cheaper to borrow money during the Great Depression because the demand for physical cash was so low during the Great Depression. All right, number 5, made it to the end. How are you doing? Let's try this last one. The Trump administration has slashed banking regulations. So in other words, they're going to kind of just let the banks do whatever they want from here on out. Sounds pretty far-fetched, I know. But what would happen? Think about our money demand graph. Think about money supply too, but yeah, think about money demand, huh? Wink, wink. All right, you figured it out. I'm terrible at these narrations sometimes. Okay, so obviously fewer regulations, we said that tends to increase the demand for physical cash. So money demand 1 shifted right to money demand 2. And so more people are going to be demanding physical cash. We don't know what the Fed's going to do, but we're going to assume that the Fed isn't going to make any change to the quantity of money. So all that's going to happen is that we're going to have a change in our equilibrium, which leads to an increase of our nominal interest rate from R1 to R2. Okay, guys. I said that was the last one, but I can see some of y'all are like, yo, Mr. White, come on, give us some more of those sweet questions. We love this graph. So I said, okay, I'm ready for an encore. I got one more for y'all. Here we go. All right, so number 6, how about this one? The U.S. economy is expanding at a healthy rate. You might read that one day, like in the newspaper, because I know all you kids are reading the newspaper, right? That's what you're doing these days. Anyways, so what would happen if you read somewhere, probably not the newspaper, but if you read somewhere or heard somebody say the U.S. economy is expanding at a healthy rate? What would the graph look like? Okay, so you can see that this looks pretty much like the last example. If real GDP is rising, it means we're producing more stuff, businesses are making more, everybody's getting more money because unemployment's super low and everybody's spending more money. And so as a result, we've got a rightward shift of money demand. More economic activity means more demand for physical cash. So money demand 1 shifts right to money demand 2. It doesn't tell us anything about monetary policy. It doesn't tell us that the Fed is doing anything. So we're going to assume the Fed is just going to chill. Money supply is going to stay the same. But what we'll see when money demand shifts right, we're going to have a new equilibrium, and it's going to bring us from R1, which is a low nominal interest rate, to R2, which is a higher nominal interest rate. And so that might actually tend to decrease some of the demand for cash later on as people see that high opportunity cost of holding physical cash. All right, so how'd you do? Hopefully pretty well. If you have any questions about these, or if you'd like some more examples, or if you'd like more resources to help you understand money demand, just give me a holler either through email or you can leave me a comment. But hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'll see you in class. Take her easy.